I have been a records clerk for the Keth-Varaan continuance for 19 rotations. I have processed 11,408 transit applications. I have stamped 8,291 clearance forms, rejected 2,914, and filed the remainder in the annex shelf designated for incomplete submissions, which I dust twice per rotation because no one else will. I say this because I want you to understand that I am not a person given to exaggeration. I log what I see, I file what I log. I have never, in 19 rotations, filed a report like this one. The Keth-Varaan transit post controls the only viable corridor between sector Ossian-vel and the Deathcon resettlement approach. There is a secondary route, but it runs through a debris band that has claimed 4 vessels in the last 2 rotations, and the third route requires a Class 8 navigational clearance that no non-military freight operator holds, so everything comes through Keth-Varaan. Everything has come through Keth-Varaan for 340 rotations. 6 rotations ago, Post Commander Vel Kethis issued a corridor restriction under Emergency Designation 11, no freight movement, no exceptions. He cited a boundary survey dispute with the adjacent Veth-Sorak partition, a survey dispute I had, incidentally, flagged as resolved in my own records 14 days prior, because the Veth-Sorak partition had countersigned the boundary correction, and I had received the confirmation form. I filed it. I noted it in the annex log. I sent a routing copy to Commander Vel Kethis's administrative desk. He did not read it. So the corridor stayed closed. 41 ships turned back over 6 rotations. 11 of them were carrying humanitarian resettlement freight for the Deathcon approach corridor, basic materials, water reclamation parts, 2 consignments of medical equipment that the receiving station had been waiting for since rotation 4. I logged all 41 rejections. I noted the resettlement freight designations in the remarks column. I sent 3 summary reports to the commander's desk. He did not read those either. I want to be clear that I am not, in this report, making a judgment about Commander Vel Kethis. I am a junior archivist. It is not my function to make judgments. It is my function to log what I see, and what I saw, on the morning of the 42nd attempted transit, was a human. She came through the primary intake corridor on foot, which is unusual. Most freight operators arrive via docking clearance queue and submit their applications through the automated terminal. She walked past the terminal. She walked past the secondary screening station. She walked directly to the primary gate and stood in front of it, with both hands at her sides and no clearance documentation visible, which caused the 2 gate officers, Keth-Solon and Vel Orath, both senior enforcement grade, to step forward with their restriction staffs extended. She was not large. She was not armed, insofar as I could determine. She had the look of someone who had been traveling for some time. Worn transit coat, a carry case across one shoulder, short dark hair that had not been recently attended to. She looked at the restriction staffs for a moment. Then she looked at Keth-Solon. "I'd like to see your founding charter," she said. Keth-Solon lowered his staff slightly, not because he was complying, because he did not know what to do with the request. "This post is under Emergency Designation 11, he said. "No transit clearance is being issued." "I understand that," she said. "I'd still like to see your founding charter." I have worked in this annex for 19 rotations. The Keth-Varaan founding charter, the original document establishing this post's authority, jurisdiction, and operational mandate, sits in shelf 7 of the Physical Records Annex, behind my station. I know exactly where it is, because I cataloged it on my 3rd day of service and have maintained its housing ever since. In 19 rotations, no one has asked to see it. It is 340 rotations old. The enforcement officers who work this post are trained on the post's operational procedures, which are a summary document derived from the charter. They are not trained on the charter itself. I retrieved it from shelf 7. I brought it to the gate window. She took it. She sat down on the intake bench along the annex wall, and she opened it, and she began to read. Keth-Solon stood at the gate. He looked at me. I had no guidance to offer him. I went back to my station and logged the interaction under incident reference, because it seemed prudent. Commander Vel Kethis arrived at the gate at the 17-minute mark. Someone had notified him. He stood behind the gate glass with his carapace fully extended. The enforcement posture, which I have only seen him deploy twice before, both times during physical resistance incidents, and he looked at the human sitting on the bench reading the charter. "What is she doing?" he said. "Reading," Keth-Varaan said. "I can see that. Why?" Keth-Varaan did not have an answer. Neither did I, but no one was asking me. Commander Vel issued the standard verbal restriction notice through the gate speaker. The human did not look up. He issued it a second time, with the formal warning addendum. She turned a page. He issued the third-tier warning, which carries a legal detention advisory. She made a note in the margin of something on her carry case, not of the warning, of something she had read. "I want to note, for the record, that at no point in the 31 minutes she sat on that bench did she raise her voice. She did not protest, she did not argue, she did not request a supervisor, she read." At the 31-minute mark she closed the document. She stood up. She walked back to the gate window, and she put the charter on the ledge. "Sub-clause 14, she said. Section 3 of the operational mandate. This corridor was chartered as a free transit lane for non-military freight, operating under humanitarian resettlement designation. Checkpoint authority is suspended during active resettlement operations. The DEFCON resettlement corridor has been under active operational status for 11 rotations." She paused. "The emergency designation 11 restriction has been in effect for 6. It has been in conflict with the founding charter for all 6 of those rotations." She reached into her carry case and produced a single-page form. She slid it through the gate document slot. "That's a sub-clause compliance request," she said. "Form DW 47-0002. I filed DW 47-0001 14 days ago with your administrative office." She looked at Commander Vel. "You may want to check your desk." The commander looked at her for a long time. Then he looked at the charter. I watched him read subclause 14. It took him less time than it had taken her, but only because she had already noted the page and the line. The corridor opened at the 48th minute. She walked through without looking back. She did not thank anyone. She did not say anything further. She simply walked, and the freight designation on her carry case, Humanitarian Resettlement, Class 47 Non-Military, went with her into the approach lane, where it belongs. Commander Vel stood at the gate for some time after. Keth-Varaan and Vel stood behind him. None of them spoke. I retrieved the charter from the ledge and returned it to Shelf 7. The remaining 40 freight convoys that had been turned back over the 6 rotations received automated corridor clearance within the hour. The medical consignments reached the DEFCON receiving station by morning. I noted all of this in the incident log under incident reference. I also noted, in the remarks column, something I do not normally include in operational records. I noted that the founding charter of the Keth-Varaan transit post is 340 rotations old. That subclause 14 has been in that charter for all 340 of those rotations. That it is not written in an obscure notation or a technical dialect. It is written in plain administrative language, the same language we use for intake forms and rejection stamps. She read it in 31 minutes. No one who has ever worked at this post read it at all. I have been a records clerk for 19 rotations. I have never seen a corridor open because someone read the document that said it should be open. I do not know what category to put that in. I filed this report under General Incident, which is the closest category I have. The remarks column does not go very far.